The divorce papers had been signed for 3 years. The restraining order was still active. Maria Santos and David Rodriguez hadn't spoken a single word to each other since that final explosive courtroom scene where accusations flew like daggers and their marriage died in front of a judge. They swore on everything holy that they would never be in the same room again. Yet here they were, on this rain-soaked Tuesday morning, both walking toward the same church doors at the exact same moment, as if pulled by an invisible force neither could understand. Maria froze when she saw him. David's hand hesitated on the heavy wooden door. 3 years of bitter silence stretched between them like a chasm of broken promises and shattered dreams. But something extraordinary was about to happen. Something that would prove the Virgin Mary specializes in the impossible, especially when it comes to healing the deepest family wounds. If you've ever felt your family falling apart, this story will give you hope. Like this video and subscribe to our channel if you believe in Mary's power to heal families. To create a spiritual chain of prayer for all broken families, write HEAL in the comments below. Let's unite our faith and ask Mary to intercede for every family watching this. Their teenage daughter Sophia hadn't spoken to either parent in months. The divorce had destroyed more than a marriage. It had obliterated a family. Sophia, once a bright honor student with dreams of becoming a teacher, now spent her days in her grandmother's house, refusing phone calls, skipping school, and carrying the unbearable weight of choosing between the two people she loved most. The custody battle had turned her into a weapon that both parents wielded against each other, and the damage seemed irreversible. Maria clutched her rosary, the same one her mother had given her on her wedding day, back when she believed in forever. David stood just 10 feet away, his eyes hollow from 3 years of regret and lonely nights, wondering if he'd destroyed the best thing in his life. Neither knew that their daughter had been rushed to the hospital just 2 days earlier after her grandmother found her writing goodbye letters. Neither knew that their child was dying inside, slowly suffocating under the weight of a family torn apart by pride and pain. The morning air was thick with tension and possibility. Both ex-spouses had been drawn to this church by dreams they couldn't explain, dreams of a gentle woman in blue who whispered about healing and hope. They had no idea that Mary, the mother of all families, had been orchestrating this moment for months, weaving together coincidences and grace to bring them to this exact place at this exact time. Little did they know that what was about to unfold would challenge everything they believed about forgiveness, family, and the miraculous power of a mother who never abandons her children, no matter how broken they believe themselves to be. The marriage that had begun with such promise in this very church 15 years earlier had crumbled like ancient parchment. It started with David losing his construction job during the economic downturn, followed by months of mounting bills and mounting tension. Maria worked double shifts at the hospital, coming home exhausted to find David withdrawn, drinking beer on the couch. Their conversations reduced to arguments about money, responsibilities, and dreams that seemed increasingly impossible to reach. What began as financial stress metastasized into something much darker. Words became weapons. "You're never here," David would shout. "You're not the man I married," Maria would fire back. Sophia, then 13, would hide in her room, headphones on, trying to drown out the sound of her world falling apart. Each fight carved deeper wounds until communication became impossible. They spoke only through accusations, speaking past each other rather than to each other, two people drowning in the same house. The custody battle was brutal. Lawyers transformed their pain into profit, encouraging each parent to document every flaw, every mistake, every moment of human weakness in their former spouse. David's drinking became alcoholism in court documents. Maria's work schedule became abandonment. Sophia was forced to testify about which parent she preferred, a question that shattered her heart into pieces no child should have to carry. The girl who once brought home straight A's and dreamed of teaching kindergarten began failing classes, cutting herself off from friends, and carrying a pain too heavy for her teenage shoulders. Years of attempted reconciliation only deepened the wounds. Family therapy sessions became battlegrounds where old grievances were weaponized. Court-ordered mediation felt like divorce proceedings that never ended. Every interaction between Maria and David was filtered through lawyers, every exchange dripping with bitterness and resentment. Sophia stopped answering their calls, stopped visiting on scheduled days, stopped believing that love could exist in a family that seemed determined to destroy itself. Maria carried the guilt like a weight that grew heavier each day. She had worked so hard to provide for her family that she had forgotten how to be present for them. She would lie awake at night, wondering if her daughter would ever forgive her, if the family she had once cherished could ever be anything more than a memory preserved in photographs gathering dust. David lived in a one-bedroom apartment surrounded by the silence of his mistakes, watching his daughter grow up through occasional glimpses and social media posts, feeling like a stranger to the child he would die to protect. But nothing, not therapy, not court orders, not the passage of time, had prepared them for the phone call that shattered their world completely. Sophia's grandmother, her voice breaking through tears, called them both on the same night with news that would bring them to their knees. Their 16-year-old daughter had been found unconscious in her bedroom, surrounded by goodbye letters addressed to each of them, letters filled with apologies for not being strong enough to fix what they had broken. The moment every parent fears most had arrived, and neither Maria nor David knew that their daughter's desperate cry for help would become the catalyst for a miracle neither thought possible. The hospital chapel was empty except for Maria, who knelt before a simple statue of the Virgin Mary, her body shaking with sobs that came from a place deeper than grief. Sophia was stable now, sleeping in the psychiatric ward upstairs, but the letters, those heartbreaking letters, echoed in Maria's mind like accusations she couldn't escape. "I'm sorry I couldn't fix what you and Dad broke. Maybe if I'm gone, you'll find a way to love each other again." "Holy Mary, Mother of God," Maria whispered, her voice cracking with desperation. "I don't know how to pray anymore. I don't know if I deserve to ask you for anything. But you're a mother. You're the mother of all mothers. You know what it feels like to watch your child suffer." Her tears fell onto the worn wooden kneeler, each drop carrying years of accumulated pain. "Only a mother can understand this pain. Please, I'm begging you, don't let my failures destroy my daughter. Show me how to fix what I've broken." 23 miles away, in his lonely apartment, David sat on the edge of his bed, holding Sophia's letter in his trembling hands. He hadn't prayed since his wedding day, hadn't believed in anything divine since his world collapsed. But tonight, surrounded by the suffocating silence of his mistakes, he found himself speaking to the darkness. "God, if you're there, if Mary is listening, I don't know how to do this. I've failed as a husband, failed as a father, but Sophia, she doesn't deserve to pay for my sins." His voice broke completely. "If there's any mercy left in heaven, please help her. Help us find a way back to each other." What neither parent knew was that their broken prayers were rising together, weaving into something powerful in the spiritual realm, where Mary, the mother who understands all heartbreak, heard every word, felt every tear, and began to work in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. The first sign came that very night. Maria, exhausted from hours of prayer and vigil, finally fell asleep in the chapel chair. In her dream, a woman in radiant blue approached her with eyes full of compassionate understanding. "Your family is not beyond healing," the gentle voice said. "Come to where love first bound you together. Come to where hope was born." The woman's hand touched Maria's heart, and she felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in years, not just comfort, but specific direction, an inexplicable urge to visit St. Catherine's Church. David experienced something similar, though he would later struggle to explain it. Somewhere between sleeping and waking, he felt a presence in his apartment, gentle but unmistakable. A voice, soft as a mother's lullaby, whispered, "Your daughter needs both her parents to return to where promises were made." The place where your family began is where your family will heal. When he woke, his heart was racing with an urgency he couldn't ignore. He had to get to St. Catherine's Church. Neither understood why, but both felt pulled by an invisible thread toward the same destination. What they didn't expect was that Mary, the masterful orchestrator of impossible reconciliations, had much more planned than a simple encounter. The moment Maria saw David at the church entrance, her blood turned to ice. 3 years of careful avoidance, of restraining orders and lawyer-mediated communications, shattered in an instant. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. David's jaw clenched, his own shock quickly morphing into familiar anger. "I could ask you the same thing. Are you following me now?" But something strange was happening. The morning mass was packed, unusually full for a Tuesday, and the ushers directed them to the only available seats, which happened to be in the same pew, not next to each other, but close enough that they could feel the weight of each other's presence, close enough that every breath felt like an invasion of the careful distance they had maintained for so long. Father Miguel announced that today's service would include a special candle-lighting ceremony for families in crisis. "We will pray for reconciliation, for healing, for the restoration of broken bonds," he said, his eyes somehow finding both Maria and David in the congregation. "Please come forward when called to light a candle for your family's healing." Maria's heart pounded. She hadn't planned to participate, but when the time came, her legs moved without her conscious decision. David found himself rising at the same moment, both walking toward the altar as if pulled by the same invisible force. Their hands reached for candles from the same tray, their fingers accidentally brushing, the first physical contact in 3 years, sending shocks of memory and pain through both of them. "This isn't a coincidence," Maria whispered harshly as they lit their candles. "Whatever game you're playing, stop it." David's eyes flashed with old anger. "Game? My daughter tried to kill herself because of what we did, and you think this is a game?" The words hung between them like a challenge, raw and desperate, but Mary was working in ways they couldn't see yet. As they knelt to pray, the weight of their shared grief began to crack the walls they had built around their hearts. For just a moment, Maria saw not her ex-husband, but the father of her child, the man who had held Sophia as a baby, who had taught her to ride a bike, who loved their daughter as desperately as she did. Mary's intervention was just beginning. If you want to see more amazing family miracles, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. The fragile progress nearly shattered completely when Sophia's counselor called them both that afternoon. "I need to see you together," Dr. Martinez explained. "Sophia's recovery requires both parents present. She's been asking for you both, but she's terrified of your conflict. You need to learn to be in the same room without destroying each other." The meeting was a disaster. Old wounds erupted like volcanoes as they sat in that sterile office. Accusations flying, voices rising, all the careful work of the morning's grace crumbling under the weight of years of bitterness. "You destroyed our family," David shouted. "You destroyed yourself," Maria fired back. Dr. Martinez watched helplessly as everything fell apart again, wondering if some families were simply too broken to heal. What none of them knew was that Sophia was listening from the next room, and what she was about to do would force a miracle that neither parent was prepared for. Sophia had been standing outside Dr. Martinez's office door for only minutes, but those minutes contained a lifetime of heartbreak. She heard every word of her parents' explosive argument, the same bitter accusations, the same poisonous blame that had driven her to write those goodbye letters. But this time, something was different. This time, she wasn't going to let their pride destroy what remained of their family. The office door burst open, and Sophia collapsed onto the floor, her body convulsing in what appeared to be a seizure. "Call 911!" Dr. Martinez shouted as both Maria and David rushed to their daughter's side. All animosity evaporated in an instant. as they knelt beside her, their hands instinctively reaching for her at the same time, their fingers intertwining as they tried to hold her steady. "Sophia, baby, I'm here," Maria whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy's here too, sweetheart," David added, his voice breaking completely. For the first time in 3 years, they were united in something other than legal battles. They were united in terror for their child's life. But as the paramedics arrived, Sophia's eyes opened with startling clarity. "I'm not having a seizure," "Ude," she said quietly, looking directly into both her parents' faces. "I just needed you both to touch me at the same time. I needed to feel like I had parents who could love me more than they hate each other." The words hit them like lightning bolts of truth, shattering every wall they had built between them. The ambulance ride to the hospital became a sacred space where miracles happen. Sophia lay between her parents, holding both their hands, and began to speak with the wisdom of someone far older than her 16 years. "I remember when you used to pray together," she said softly. "Before I went to sleep, you would both stand beside my bed and pray for my protection. Do you remember?" Maria's sob was audible. David's hands shook as he squeezed his daughter's fingers. "I remember," he whispered. "We used to ask the Virgin Mary to watch over you, to keep you safe, to help us be the parents you deserved." "She heard those prayers," Sophia continued, her voice growing stronger. "And she's been answering them in ways you couldn't see. She brought you both to the same church this morning. She put you in the same pew. She made sure you had to light candles together. Mom, Dad, can't you see that she's trying to heal our family?" In that ambulance, surrounded by the mechanical sounds of medical equipment and the distant wail of sirens, Maria and David looked at each other, really looked for the first time in 3 years. They saw pain reflected back at them, yes, but also love. Love for their daughter. Love for the family they had once been. Love that had never actually died, only been buried under layers of hurt and pride. "I'm so sorry," Maria whispered. Her eyes locked on David's. "I'm sorry too," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Can we try again? Not as husband and wife, but as Sophia's parents? Can we find a way to love her together?" What happened next would surprise everyone, including the Virgin Mary herself. What surprised everyone, including the medical staff at the hospital, was Sophia's complete transformation the moment her parents committed to working together. The girl who had been withdrawn, depressed, and suicidal for months suddenly became radiant with hope. Dr. Martinez later called it the most remarkable recovery she had witnessed in 20 years of practice. But the real miracle was happening between Maria and David. As they sat in Sophia's hospital room that night, something extraordinary occurred. They began to talk, not argue, not accuse, not defend, but actually communicate for the first time since their marriage started falling apart. They shared their fears, their regrets, their desperate love for their daughter, and slowly, tentatively, they began to remember why they had fallen in love in the first place. "I never stopped loving you as Sophia's father," Maria admitted as dawn broke through the hospital windows. "I just forgot how to separate my hurt from my love," David nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never stopped loving you as Sophia's mother. I just didn't know how to be the man you both needed me to be." The Virgin Mary's orchestration became increasingly clear as the days unfolded. Father Miguel from St. Catherine's Church called to check on them, revealing that the special candle lighting ceremony had been completely unplanned. He had felt a sudden inspiration to include it during the morning service. The ushers confirmed that the church had never been that full on a Tuesday morning, and they couldn't explain why so many people had felt compelled to attend that particular mass. Even more miraculous was the timing of Dr. Martinez's call, requiring both parents to attend therapy together. She later admitted that Sophia's file had been accidentally placed on her desk by a substitute secretary who had never worked there before, and that secretary had disappeared as mysteriously as she had appeared, leaving no employment records behind. Sophia's recovery accelerated beyond all medical expectations. She began eating again, laughing again, dreaming about her future again. But more than that, she became the bridge between her parents, helping them navigate conversations they thought would be impossible. "Mary gave me back my family," she told her grandmother, "but not the way we used to be. She gave us something better. She gave us truth." The impact rippled through their extended family like stones thrown into still water. Sophia's grandmother, who had been praying novenas to the Virgin Mary every day since the divorce, wept with joy when she saw her granddaughter flanked by both parents at Sunday dinner. Maria's sister, who hadn't spoken to David in 3 years, embraced him with tears in her eyes. "I see Sophia in both of you again," she whispered. Their friends watched in amazement as the couple they thought were beyond redemption began attending Sophia's school events together, sitting side by side, cheering for their daughter as a united front. Not as husband and wife, that chapter had closed, but as something perhaps more beautiful. Two people who had learned to love their child more than they hated their past. The healing was so profound, so undeniable, that it would change how everyone in their community understood the power of prayer, forgiveness, and a mother's love. 2 years later, the Santos Rodriguez family looks nothing like the broken, bitter people who once swore they'd never speak again. Their transformation has been so complete, so profound, that their story has become legendary in their community, a testament to the Virgin Mary's specialization in what many consider impossible, healing relationships that seem beyond repair. Sophia, now 18 and thriving in her first year of college, studying family counseling, often speaks about the miracle that saved her family. "People ask me if I believe in miracles," she says with a smile that lights up every room. "I tell them I don't just believe in them, I live because of one. The Virgin Mary didn't just heal our family, she taught us what family really means." Maria and David have developed a co-parenting relationship that has become a model for other divorced couples. They attend family therapy together monthly, not because they need it anymore, but because they want to keep growing in their ability to love Sophia together. They celebrate holidays as a family unit, vacation together with Sophia, and have even started a support group at St. Catherine's Church for families torn apart by divorce. What strikes everyone who knows them is how they speak about each other now. "David is an amazing father," Maria says without hesitation. "I was so focused on our failed marriage that I forgot to honor his love for Sophia." David echoes similar sentiments. "Maria's strength and dedication inspire me every day. She taught me what it means to fight for your child." Nasi, the miracle has taught them, and everyone who witnesses their story, that Mary's power specializes in the relationships we think are unreparable. Unlike physical healing, which touches one person, family healing ripples through generations. Sophia's future children will grow up knowing their grandparents love each other as family, even if they're not married. They'll see that forgiveness is possible, that pride doesn't have to win, that love can be stronger than hurt. Father Miguel often shares their story during his homilies, always emphasizing the same truth. The Virgin Mary is the mother of all families, not just the Holy Family. When we pray to her as mother, we're asking someone who understands family love to intercede for family healing. She specializes in bringing children back to parents, parents back to children, and broken families back to wholeness. Their transformation has inspired countless other families to seek Mary's intercession for their own broken relationships. The support group they started has grown from 3 families to over 30, with waiting lists of people desperate for the kind of healing they've experienced. If you're watching this and your family feels shattered beyond repair, take heart in Maria, David, and Sophia's story. The Virgin Mary sees your pain, understands your heartbreak, and specializes in family reconciliation. No relationship is too broken, no hurt too deep, no pride too stubborn for a mother who never gives up on her children. Have you experienced Mary's healing in your family? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more miraculous family healing stories.